chocolate. I just kept tasting someone else's chocolate.
Hello, my little Luxes. Welcome back to another Luxie Charms, and I am your host, CharSieluxxx. And today I am continuing on my Masters of Horror series and doing the next episode, which happens to be episode number 5 called Chocolate. And this one is an exciting one for the fact that the director and writer of this one is Mick Garris. And of course, we've talked about him extensively on this channel due to the fact that not only is he the creator of Masters of Horror, but he also was a part of Critters 2. And since that's my other series that I'm working on, we're almost done with that one though. We are to the point where I will be on the 5th film, and then once I am done with that one, I will be doing my ranking, finally, of the Critters franchise. But with Masters of Horror, unfortunately, that one I'll have to see if I will be continuing it after this episode, due to the fact that it is leaving Tubi. Now, yes, it is streaming on other platforms and everything, but the thing is that I love and appreciate Tubi because I can take clips from that platform. Anywhere else that is digital and streaming, they do the black screen of death. I mean, I get it. There's people that pirate the movies and that. I'm going off on a weird tangent because, I mean, duh, obviously they can't tell the difference between who's honest and who's dishonest. But anyway, I need to get back on topic. But, you know, I always say I'm going off on my tangents and that, but let's face it, if you are on my channel and you have subscribed, you are not here just for the movie reviews. You are here to watch me go off on my weird ramblings, on my weird tangents. I mean, I'm pretty sure anyway.
Stop it. Get some help.
I don't think I need to agree with that. I think I'm perfectly fine just the way I am. But anyway, let's get on with this movie review of Chocolate. And spoiler alert, if you do not like spoilers to movies or shows that you have not seen, this is your warning. I will be spoiling the episode, and viewer discretion is advised.
How do you know it wasn't a dream?
It wasn't a dream. No man ever loved a woman the way I loved her.
I will start by actually just showing you my cute, adorable shirt. I wore this today because, you know, I didn't feel like getting in a cosplay, and that's kind of where I'm getting to the point where I'm like, you know what, if I don't feel like putting on a costume and that, I have plenty of Halloween shirts, so why not throw on one of my cute, adorable Halloween-inspired shirts and just record. And that's what I felt like doing today. But anyway, so let's get into Chocolate. And this is one of those episodes where it literally begins where it ends, where you are basically seeing the end result or the epilogue. So a situation has already happened and you are introduced to our main character Jamie, and he's blood splattered. You find out that he is talking to the police and they're asking him questions, and they want him to explain why he is in the predicament that he is in now. So Jamie takes us all on this journey to start explaining at the very beginning of why we end up where we are. So we find out that Jamie is a very sad and lonely divorced young man, that he's even on a diet. He's just lost custody to his son, that his ex-wife basically has left him and is already dating other people. We find out that he works for a food testing company in Chicago. Now, on that first night is when Jamie has his first episode, as we will call it, where for some odd reason he keeps tasting chocolate as if he's eating it, but he's not eating anything at the time. He is tasting this very rich chocolate. As time progresses, we quickly find out that not only is Jamie sad and lonely, he lives alone because of the divorce, but he greatly misses his son. So he goes over to his old house so that he can see his son. And what he wants to do is to give his son a copy of his apartment key and lets him know that he can come over anytime he wants, and that when his mom is supposed to drop him off for his next visit, that if he's in bed, to just go on in and come and wake him up so that they can go on their father-son adventures type of thing. His ex-wife is something special, because right in front of him, she decides she needs to change her shirt. Like, doesn't go to a different room or anything like that. Like, literally just starts changing in front of him. So, probably to taunt him and tease him. And right away, Jamie notices that she has a hickey, and he questions her about it. Granted, yes, it's none of his business, but she's also doing this in front of him, literally flaunting it in his face. And also, upon entering the house, Jamie starts sneezing like almost immediately. We come to learn that he's highly allergic to roses. So his ex-wife used to apparently wear rose oil and had to give up wearing it and had to give up being around roses because of Jamie's allergies. But now that he's out of the picture, she's gone back to wearing the rose oil. She's gone back to having the roses. And Jamie right away is having very huge allergic reactions while he is in this house. So poor Jamie's feeling pretty crappy at this point in time because of the fact of all of this going on. Feeling low, he decides that he doesn't want to be home by himself, so he goes to the bar because his buddy Wally had invited him to come out and to watch his band play. And while Jamie is watching Wally and his band play, something very strange happens. In the middle of listening to the concert, he loses his sense of hearing. Granted, he hears something, but it's not the concert anymore. He starts hearing the sound of wine being poured into a glass. At the exact same moment that Jamie happens to lose his sense of hearing, a beautiful blonde woman comes over to have a conversation with him. Now, Jamie clearly becomes distressed, and he's telling this woman that he's lost his sense of hearing. He can't hear anything. But instead of this woman actually helping this man, because he's clearly having issues and problems, he's clearly having something wrong, she just decides to act like there's something wrong with him and he's a weirdo, and she just gets up and gets away from him. So that was really, really strange and weird. It's like, God, do people not care?
No.
But eventually his hearing does end up coming back, and we're brought back to the scene and hearing the concert. But that's not the only strange event that happens. It continues later into the evening, and after the show, Jamie is driving his buddy Wally back to his house. But in transition, while on the road, all of a sudden, Jamie starts having a vision. And instead of seeing the road in front of him as he's driving, he starts seeing weird visions of landscapes and just obviously a different spot than where he was. So immediately he starts trying to get Wally's attention to let him know, hey, I can't see anything. I can't see. Please grab the wheel. I can't see. So Wally, of course, confused about what's going on, and you see both of them swerving around on the road. So Wally eventually takes the wheel, but just in time for them to swerve and miss oncoming traffic, which happened to be a large semi. So you go further into the story where over time Jamie just keeps having more and more visions, or more episodes are happening. But each time it seems like a new sense comes to life, where this next one, he gets also a sense of smell. And he can smell roses, so automatically he starts sneezing again because we know he has this allergy. But each time the visions and the senses become more intense for him, even to the point that he is on a date with a beautiful woman, and him having these episodes ends up ruining this date completely. He is having the visions of a beautiful woman. And the fact that he's connecting to her, and that whatever she is sensing, whatever she is feeling, whatever she's seeing, Jamie is experiencing as well. And he's having this full connection now. So he's on this date with this woman and now having this full-on vision that is very odd and strange, and he starts reacting to the situation that's going on. So he seems to be having an episode right in front of this girlfriend, and while she's freaking out about it, guess what happens? You know, the typical thing that happens in these situations. The son and the ex, who have the spare key that was given to them by Jamie, just let themselves into the apartment, and of course they head straight to the bedroom where Jamie and this girlfriend had been, you know, having a little bit of fun, and then Jamie had his episode.
Hey, your family's here. Stop! Stop it! What's the matter, Dad? Jamie, stop it!
And now, while Jamie looks like he's convulsing and having all these strange things happen to him, everybody seems to act like there's something wrong with Jamie and that he's a weirdo every single time. And that's one of those things that makes me stop and think, it's like, this is weird. This is odd. Like, nobody thinks something is wrong. He's clearly having some kind of a mental breakdown, and he's having an episode where everybody just gets mad at him. And nobody wants to help this man. Nobody is there for Jamie. And obviously the ex-wife gets the son, leaves the apartment. The girlfriend, she does the exact same, gets upset, leaves the apartment. And there's Jamie, just alone, with nobody there wanting to help him. They just act like something's wrong with him. No wonder he's the way he is. And this will be a big part. I'll talk way more into this towards the end as well, but this is a loose end. We never revisit the son and the ex ever again. They're never brought up again. Once they walk out of that apartment, they're just goodbye, no more, so long, farewell.
Bye, bitch!
A part of me wonders if it's because of the fact that these episodes are so short. You have a lot of the times that I talk about in these episodes that they kind of feel like they're missing something to the plot line. And they're 60 minutes. They're an hour long. Now, most of these directors and writers usually make full-length films. So there's a whole missing half an hour that would probably be the filler that would actually answer these questions that I have in my mind, these plot holes, these loose ends. And that at some point we probably should have seen that the wife should have been calling Jamie to either scold him, yell at him, check up on him, something. But it's a plot hole, and definitely a huge loose end. So now that Jamie finally knows and realizes that he's having episodes and connecting, literally, mentally, physically, everything. He's connecting to this woman. He starts falling for her and becomes obsessive of her. And he keeps having more and more episodes of seeing this woman or seeing what she's seeing. And he finally goes to tell his friend Wally what's been going on. But Wally doesn't take him seriously and just basically brushes it off and tells Jamie, just go get help. Go get it taken care of. Talk to somebody. And Jamie finally admits to him and says, why would I want it to stop? He's like, I don't want it to stop. I don't want it to be fixed. And that's it on that conversation as well. As soon as Jamie walks away from his friend Wally, he's out of the picture now. He never checks in on Jamie, never comes back to find out what's going on. And that's another loose end. So we move into the fact that we now know that Jamie is fully enthralled with this woman, just loves her, wants to be with her. But all the visions that he has, he's seeing that she has a lover. But we move to the point to where you see that this woman has a huge altercation and fight with her lover, that he wants her to get in this threesome with him and she disagrees. So she ends up slugging him in the face. Well, then he turns around and he slaps her right back. Just a very disgusting situation. Later on, Jamie sees a vision of where this woman ends up murdering her lover. And it wasn't in self-defense. They weren't in a fight or anything at the time. She just decided to kill him in cold blood. But Jamie didn't care. In his mind, he needed to come and save this woman. So he starts going through all of his visions that he can remember to see if he can find this woman. Now, mind you, he's in Chicago, and through all of his evidence that he has, figures out that she lives up in Canada. So Jamie goes and finds this woman and literally connects with her. Now, obviously, this woman is just completely creeped out by him, thinks that Jamie is a stalker, I mean, rightfully so.
Duh.
And all she wants him to do is leave her alone. And she keeps trying to get away from him. But Jamie is very persistent, and he manages to finally talk her into having lunch with him so that he can explain himself. And after their conversation, and we find out that this woman's name is Catherine, she is very creeped out by him and just wants nothing to do with him. But Jamie eventually admits that he knows about the murder. He knows that she killed her boyfriend. So this sends up red flags for her. She thinks that Jamie's there to blackmail her. So this leads to the next scene where Catherine invites Jamie to her apartment and she seduces him because she wants to ask him questions. But very quickly, things turn for very ugly. And the signs were always there of how this was going to go, because she doesn't want to be blackmailed, and that's what she thinks Jamie is doing. And she has no idea that Jamie is telling her the truth about these visions and everything. So she goes to kill him. Well, him knowing from experience and from all of his visions, he knows he has to protect himself. So in self-defense, Jamie literally had to kill this woman that he had fallen in love with. And this story ends in tragedy. And like I said, it ended where it began. Or now in this case, now we're seeing the ending. The police are finalizing their questions with Jamie, and we now know that he's basically going to be arrested for murdering Catherine.
You know, that's not an easy story to swallow.
I can't do anything about that.
And like I had stated before, Mick Garris was the director and the writer of this episode. And what's really weird is that there are a lot of parallels to this episode with Jennifer, and especially since these two are back to back. But you have the idea that the main character is obsessed with a woman and is willing to give up everything in their life and to destroy their own life just to be with this person. Now, is this just a weird coincidence that happened? But Mick Garris did have a part, obviously, with Jennifer, so maybe there was a crossover because of that. But either way, there were a lot of strange parallels when it came to Jennifer in this episode. And it's also ironic that Jamie's character is allergic to roses, and when we're introduced to his ex-wife and everything, we find that out, and the fact that his wife, who had originally had to give up roses and these things that she loved to be with Jamie because he was allergic, goes right back to using rose oil and that kind of stuff because it didn't matter to her anymore because she wasn't with him. But Jamie clearly made her give that stuff up because of the fact he was allergic to it. But when it came to Catherine, that whole subject just flew out the window, because in order for him to be more connected to her in the visions and the senses and everything going on, he started buying things that she was doing so that he could get that connection. So he would buy chocolates and eat chocolates. He would have candles around him. He would have bottles of wine and roses, because one of the senses that he had was when he had smelled the roses that Catherine had and was sneezing. Now he had roses in his own apartment, just so that he could have this weird connection with this woman that he'd never met in real life. So it's ironic that that became a thing that didn't matter to him anymore because of his obsession with this woman. Now, a funny thing to note, that when he had his vision or his episode while he was driving with Wally, and when he had to have Wally help him because he couldn't see while he was driving, never once did he hit the brakes. It's just bizarre, and it's one of those things where it drives me nuts, because I don't care if he's gone blind or having a vision, however it was happening, you can still hit the brake. We don't look at our feet when we drive. And I'm sorry, if something like that had ever happened to me, my first reaction is going to be hitting the brake. And have your friend help you from that. Not to keep driving, not to be swerving around, yelling, and basically, freaking out. So that was weird. And the biggest one to circle back to is what I had mentioned before. Why is there no closure to any of these other relationships that Jamie has? I get the idea that he becomes so obsessed with Catherine that he literally forgets about everything else that's going on in his life. And it's shown in the symbolism when he starts buying the roses, that he doesn't even care about himself and his own well-being. But it's too many loose ends. And a part of me wants to give the grace, like I did in Jennifer as well, is that the idea maybe could be deleted scenes, because these are not full-length features. These are not an hour and a half to hour 40 minutes long films. It's only an hour-long episode for Masters of Horror. So the loose ends might have had to be cut, and it had to go quickly to get to the main point of the story. There's just too many loose ends that bother me. And maybe if they just had one little clip of his ex-wife calling him just to scold him, just something that would tie something back around. But each time they go off screen, you never see them again. You never hear about them again.
Damn you, Jamie.
And it's also the fact that nobody was helping this man. Everybody would just get upset with him or treat him like he was a freak of nature, and that it was his problem. And of course, Wally doesn't check up on him as well. He's just forgotten about after his last scene as well, when he's basically telling his friend to go get some help, and nobody calls to check up on Jamie to make sure he's okay.
That's weird.
And the biggest missed opportunity for this episode, it should have been dark humor. If it would have been more on the funny side, if it would have leaned into that, it would have been phenomenal. So we can get into my feelings of this one. I liked this episode. It was okay. It's not my favorite of the ones that I've watched so far. But like I said, it was missing something. It felt very hollow. The plot line it didn't push enough to go past those bounds of being something more. I think it needed to lean into the humor. It had this weird, funny side to it, but it didn't push enough into it. And this would have been golden if it would have been a dark horror comedy type of idea. And obviously, I'm not thrilled about the loose ends. Something needed to be wrapped up a lot better. It felt rushed. And like I said, it felt so hollow. And the thing that carried this entire episode was Henry Thomas. And most of us would know that name because he's the actor who played the young boy in E.T. So he did a phenomenal job in this, because the entire time I couldn't stand his character. You just feel bad for him, but you're also angry at him for all of his stupid decisions he makes. But I give that credit to the acting. If an actor does such a great job that I can't even stand the character, that's props on that. So yes, he drives me nuts while he's doing his weird shit, and that he decides he's gonna go after Catherine and everything else that goes on. But he did an excellent job with his acting. So yes, wrapping it up, I did like this one. I appreciate it for what it is, but it's definitely not one of my favorite ones. And it's going to take a lot for me to hate an episode. I mean, it'll be entertaining if I get to one and I'm just like, oh god, this one was just shit. I mean, I was expecting a little bit more with the fact that this one was Mick Garris. And maybe because he had his hand in all the other episodes, maybe that's why this one feels so much more rushed. Because he did have his hand in every single episode. So maybe when he was doing his, it just kind of was rushed. Not something that we may ever know. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me here on another Luxie Charms. And thank you for joining me for episode 5 of Chocolate for Masters of Horror. And please let me know, have you seen this episode? It's not a bad episode. It just, maybe it's because it's not really the scariest one. And maybe because it felt so hollow and I wanted it to have something a little bit more to it, a little more bite, leaned into that dark humor. I don't know. Mick Garris is amazing when it comes to dark humor. So that could be an element. But thank you so much for joining me here, and I would love for you to come and join me on my other social medias. I'll have a link in the description down below. And I am the afterlife of the party, but I would love for you to join me in the afterlife of the party. And the easiest way to do that is to come join me on my Patreon. And on the screen, you can see a shout out to all of my fellow Patreon members. So thank you so much for helping me out and joining. And a special shout out to my Ultimate Luxes. So thank you so much, Kurt, Chris Bruner, LJ Christensen, the No Pants Ninja, and Bishop. Thanks so much for becoming an Ultimate Lux with me. And always remember to slay, subscribe, like, and always be yourself. And until next time, my little Luxes, I guess enjoy your sweets, enjoy your chocolates, and hopefully you don't have any really random, strange visions, because the last thing we need is to become obsessed with somebody that becomes a murderer. But anyway, till next time.